Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation on the CFA Level 1 exam for June 2015. In this presentation, we look at reading 50, equity valuation, and we focus on the Gordon growth model. This is our second and final presentation on this topic. In the previous presentation, we looked at how the Gordon growth model can be used for usual scenarios where the stock is making dividend payments. In this presentation, we focus on two special cases. The first is where the stock is currently not making any dividend payments, but is expected to do so in the future. The second is where the dividend growth rate is currently unsustainably high and is expected to taper off in the future. Let's start by looking at the first special case. Stock A currently does not make any dividend payments. It is expected to pay its first dividend in 3 years in the amount of $2. After that, dividends are expected to grow at a rate of 4% forever. If the expected rate of return on the stock is 8%, what should be its present value? To answer this question, we need to follow two steps. The first is to compute the stock value in 2 years, which means we compute the present value of the stock in 2 years using the next period's dividend payment. It might be a good idea to draw a timeline. We are currently at time t equal to 0, but for this step, we compute the stock value at time t equals 2, which means we just use the Gordon growth model formula as we would for any other regular scenario. We take the next period's dividend payment of $2 and divide that by R minus G, which gives us $50. Thus we know that at time t equals 2, the stock is worth $50. We then go on to the second step, where we take the present value of the stock, which means we discount this $50 to today using this formula. And we get the present value of the stock as $42.87. Just to recap, in step 1, we computed the stock price at time t equals 2. We took the next period's dividend payment, which is time t equals 3, in the amount of $2, and we used the Gordon growth model formula to compute the stock price at time t equals 2. We got $50. We then discount this $50 back to time t equals 0 in the second step to get $42.87. Now let's look at the next special case. The dividends on stock X are expected to grow at a rate of 10% for the next 3 years. The growth rate is then expected to decrease to a sustainable rate of 4%. If the stock just paid a dividend of $1 and the required rate of return is 8%, what is the stock's intrinsic value? Now this is a special case because the dividend growth rate of 10% for the next 3 years is higher than the required rate of 8%. After 3 years, the dividend growth rate will decrease to a sustainable rate of 4%. To calculate the stock's intrinsic value, we need to follow 4 steps. The first step is that we calculate the stock value in 3 years. That is the present value of the stock in 3 years using the Gordon growth discount model, which requires us to use the dividend payment of the next period, that is the dividend payment for year 4. It might be a good idea to draw a timeline. We are currently at time t equal to 0 and we have just received a dividend payment of $1. In the next period, our dividend payment will be $1 times 1.1, which reflects a dividend growth rate of 10%. At time t equals 2, the dividend payment will be $1 times 1.1 to the power of 2. At time t equals 3, the dividend payment will be $1 times 1.1 to the power of 3. And finally, at time t equals 4, when the growth rate will go down to 4%, the dividend payment will be $1 times 1.1 to the power of 3 times 1.04. Now, as we said, we want to compute the present value of the stock as of time t equal to 3. We just use the dividend payment for the next period in our formula. Now, the dividend payment for this period is this amount. And then we just divide it by R minus G to get the stock's value at time t equal to 3 of $34.61. The next step is to discount this value at time t equal to 3 back to time t equal to 0, i.e. today. We do that using this formula and we get $27.47. But we are not done yet because we have not yet factored in the dividend payments of time t equal to 1, time t equal to 2, and time t equal to 3. We calculate the present value of these three dividend payments at time t equal to 1, time t equal to 2, and time t equal to 3. We discount these dividend payments using these terms and we get a total present value of $3.11. Finally, to compute the present value of the stock at time t equal to 0, we simply add this amount and this amount to get a total value of $30.58. Now, just to recap, we first calculate the present value of the stock at time t equal to 3, and we do that because going forward the dividend growth rate is sustainable. It's lower than the required return of 8%. We project the dividend payment at time t equal to 4 using this term. We divide that by R minus G and we compute $34.61. Then we simply discount this number to time t equal to 0 using this formula here, and we get $27.47. Next, we take into account all the dividend payments from time t equal to 1 all the way up to time t equal to 3. We take the present value using these terms to get $3.11. And finally, we just add the present value of the stock at year 3 and the present value of these dividend payments to get $30.58. Now, one thing some candidates might ask is what happened to the $1 of dividend payment that we received at time t equal to 0? How come we are not discounting that or factoring that dividend payment as part of step 3? Well, the answer to that is that when we're using the Gordon growth model, we only factor in dividend payments after today, so future dividend payments. We don't factor in dividends that have already been received, and therefore we exclude this $1 of dividend payment that we have already received. Now that brings us to an end to this presentation. If you found the video useful, please make sure to like this video and to subscribe to our channel. Please let us know if you like us to make a free video on a topic of your choice. Thanks very much for watching, and we wish you the best of luck on the exam. Thank you.